What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one I'm going to break down what's going on with the overall market and talk about some very important levels on Tesla, SPY, the QQQ, and many tickers out there. I'm going to break down what happened today and what data is going to be dropping for tomorrow. That's going to be very important to cause even more volatility. But before I do anything like this, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward. The offer ends today in just about 10 hours, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about the market. How are things looking? So when it comes to Tesla, I was talking about this head and shoulders like pattern that was developing, and technically it hasn't truly been invalidated so far because Tesla failed to break the high right here at this 260 area. So looking at Tesla, I told you if it broke 260, then I would turn bullish on it. But if it failed to do so, the odds would still favor Tesla eventually coming down. And so far, that's what happened. Tesla has come down. Now, I was thinking Tesla would end up selling off very close to this 256 to 257 area before it started to sink a lot lower to form this head and shoulders right here. Instead, it went all the way up to about 259, so it pumped a little bit more than expected, getting a last few minutes pump before this thing started to really sell off. And for now, we're just going to be watching its support and resistance levels. So for resistance, you're going to be watching 257.5. And then for support, it has critical support at the 50 EMA right now at 255.5 and also 256. So we're going to be watching these levels for the time being. I, however, believe that there's likely going to be more downside coming. I think Tesla's in the topping process. I think the odds favor it coming back down to the 250 area relatively soon. Could happen as soon as tomorrow is going to be the last Friday before the long weekend because the market's going to be closed for Labor Day on Monday. So for that reason, we tend to see the market slow down a bit on those Fridays. I also want to add that Tesla formed a lot of bearish divergences, as did SPY and many other tickers. And then you have to remember that there is one thing that could kind of shift the way that the market moves, and that's going to be the data coming out for tomorrow. So I believe that from a technical standpoint, based off technicals, SPY is looking weaker. Apple is looking a little weaker. So is the QQQ. So is Tesla, at least as of right now. I wouldn't say Tesla's looking super weak, but it's looking a lot weaker than before. And I think there's a good probability of a potential trend change. Now, with that being said, right, I just want to mention that we have some data coming out for tomorrow. If you're shorting the market very hard with short-term options, I'd be very careful if I were you. But for the longer term, if you're holding options or shorts a week or 2 weeks out, then I think you should be completely fine. But I just want to warn you that tomorrow, and that's not financial advice, by the way, but for tomorrow, we have the non-farm payrolls, the unemployment rates, the labor force participation rate, and all this data coming out an hour before the market opens. And then 15 minutes after open, we have the PMI reports coming out. Also 30 minutes after open, even more PMI data. So with the data dropping, I mean, there's a chance that even though the market is selling off the way it is, we could still gap up tomorrow morning before the market opens, before we sink down lower, or something could change by the time we open. So we have to be a little careful with all the data dropping. If you're trying to hold 1-day options or anything like that, if you're holding things that expire for Friday, I would be very careful. There's nothing wrong with securing profits on shorts today if you ended up shorting. And I just want to make it very clear just to be a little careful. But if we just ignore the data, if we just don't worry too much about this data that's coming out, we just look at the charts, right? I think the odds do favor, the market continuing to sink. I'm going to break down exactly why in just a minute. So with all this data coming out, there's also this news involving Tesla. Tesla's facing another DOJ. The SEC has more probes about Elon Musk's large glass house and just all these crazy things that have been continuing to go on. This is not good for Tesla stock in general. Also, the NHTSA has opened more probes on Tesla. They're just continuing to investigate like crazy. So I just wanted to mention that. What do I see going on for the future? So with the data dropping, we could see the market either gap up or gap down for tomorrow, just like how it did today. I can't really predict that because it depends on the unemployment data and etc. But from a technical standpoint, we have a potential head and shoulders, which is still technically valid. Tesla failed to break 260. We have a lower high that has been established, and I think the trend could be shifting in favor of the bears. So I would say that regardless of all this stuff going on, all this noise, all this data, the odds do favor more downside for Tesla. I think it may see 250 or so by tomorrow, as this is potentially forming a flag and it's continuing to weaken, in my opinion. Now, is it super weak? Not necessarily, but it isn't looking very strong either. And it looks like it's in a topping process. So I do think it may come back down here and retest 250 or so as soon as tomorrow. I think the odds greatly favor that. But watch it break below the 50 EMA as confirmation below 255 to see that either by today or early tomorrow. So I am still leaning a little bit more bearish, but just be prepared for some volatility because of this data an hour before the market opens for tomorrow. Now, when it comes to technicals, I'm just going to quickly go through what Webull is showing us. The 30-minute time frame is very important for SPY, the QQQ, and Tesla because you could see it tried to bounce off the 50 EMA. But overall, it still looks more bearish, so it could continue to sink even lower. If the 50 ends up breaking, if it breaks below 450.6 without getting any kind of like meaningful bounce like this one, we could see it test 450 flat. And if that breaks it, I think it's going to go all the way back down to 448 by tomorrow. So we look more bearish because of the triple bearish divergence on SPY. Also on SPX, we had the same formation. And also, you have to remember that the dollar bounced off support at 103. So the dollar bounced, which is part of why the market is continuing to sell off. I called it this potential bounce yesterday. I was telling you we might see the dollar bounce off 103. That's what happened right here. And the dollar is starting to push to the upwards direction. This could be a bearish signal for the markets. That's part of why the market's selling off. Look at SPY, making an attempt to rebound right now, but still not looking that great. I don't think that it's going to have a massive edge for the bulls. I think the bears will have the bigger edge. And I still think that, this is forming a topping process with the bearish divergence, and it could be forming a kind of like a head and shoulders from like here as it continues to sink lower. So we're going to be watching it try to base around the 450 area. And if it breaks below that, we could see 448 by tomorrow. It still looks more bearish from a technical standpoint. For the QQQ, this is also looking a little bit more bearish. We got this big rejection off this 379 area, and it's starting to slow down. If you look at like the 4-hour time frame on the triple Q, you will see that it's curling a lot. And if we just continue on this trend, if we fail to break these highs, this thing has a very, very nice rejection, very nice topping candle. And it could start, we could get a crossover right here on the MACD, which, starts to sink this thing even lower. So there's a good chance of that happening and the QQQ going down to 375 or so over the next couple of days. Don't forget that we have a long weekend coming. So typically the market does slow down a bit. Apple stock was trying to fill its gap, but it's showing signs of weakness at 188. The MACD is starting to curl as it's very, very overbought. So it was due for a sell-off. I was talking about this yesterday. In my opinion, we had that unfilled gap at 190. I don't know if it's going to like push for that gap and then start dropping, if it just drops from here. Either one of those are possible, but the current technicals look like it already topped, and we might start to see Apple slow down. So this could drag the market downwards. So you just want to watch this very carefully. This could be another bearish signal. Apple's eventually going to start cooling off. Either it gets a little more, one more pop to like 190, then it really pops and starts dropping, or it just drops from here. My guts tells me that the top is in. It's going to start sinking as soon as tomorrow. So I'm still leaning more in that direction. But just to be clear, you just want to be open-minded just to be safe. The VIX has been dropping like crazy, but this thing is getting ready to bounce, in my opinion. If you look at the 30-minute time frame, the VIX is continuing to sink with the markets, but it should be bouncing very soon, forming a bullish divergence. I want to see it break above the 20 EMA at 14, and that's going to be another signal that favors the bears. Last but not least, for like Nvidia hit 490. We were talking about Nvidia coming down. Let me just show you what I drew out for Nvidia, like right here. I was telling you that Nvidia will likely see some downside soon. The top may be around 500. That's very close to where the top was. We have a potential head and shoulders like pattern. I was thinking that it would come, it would basically, if we got the gap down scenario, we would see this thing sink even lower down to like the 480 area over the next couple of days. I still think that Nvidia could pull this off, and I still think there's potential for it to sink, but we want to see it break below 490. It actually tested 490. If it breaks that, 485 is on the table, followed by 480. We could see Nvidia sink if we end up getting the break, and I think the odds still greatly favor that, especially for tomorrow. So with that said, guys, when it comes to Tesla, from a technical standpoint, it does look a little bit like the bears are going to have an edge over it and try to push Tesla in the market down. However, there's going to be some data coming out for tomorrow that could cause a lot of volatility in the morning, right, for the 1 hour before the market opens. So be careful if you're trying to hold anything overnight. And if you are holding overnight and you have like long-term positions, you should be fine. I think that the technicals look like the market may slow down, especially for tomorrow, and the odds do greatly favor that. And Based off technicals, I do believe the odds favor downside for Tesla and a retest of 250 soon over the next day or two, and we could see SPY start sinking below 450. If that's the case, then 448 is on the table. All right, so hopefully this was helpful. Please have a great day, everyone. Don't forget to pay attention to Apple just to be safe if you're watching SPY, and have a great day. Be very wary of the risks of holding anything overnight. It's your choice. It can still work out since technicals look very bearish or like more bearish as of right now. And just do what you have to do, guys. So enjoy your Thursday. Get ready for tomorrow, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you and peace out.